and welcome back to my channel, and thank you guys so much for being here. We are doing today a 101 brush technique video. So get your papers out, get your pens out, and there's going to be a lot to cover, but I hope it's really going to help you improve your makeup application, specifically blush, contour, and eyeshadow. So before we go on, hit that subscribe button, give me a little thumbs up, please share this video with somebody you think might like it, and let's do it. Alright, so brush technique is a very kind of, in my opinion, simple but complicated idea. Everything that we're going to be covering today is going to be more on the basic level. Of course, there are very advanced different brush techniques, but I wanted to kind of just break this down on a beginner's level. It's also all about practice, you guys. You have to kind of hear what I'm saying and then start to get comfortable with the techniques we're talking about. Now, not all these techniques are going to work for every single one of you guys, but they're really a great place to start from. All right, so what we're going to start with is, and make sure you guys stay to the end because we are going to be working all throughout the face, and at the very end I'm going to give you some of my tried and true ways of how I use a beauty blender and not the so typical manner. All right, so let's get into this. So today we're going to be talking about eyes and cheeks. I want to start with this is just a powder. This is just from It Cosmetics, and I'm just going to put this all over the eye. Now, how are you going to choose your eye brushes? That is really honestly a whole other video, but I have done a few brush videos. You really want to, but to break it down kind of simply, is you really want to choose brushes that fit your eye shape and your eye size. For me, I can't use super large brushes unless I'm doing just like a light wash of color over the eye. But you really need to make sure you are choosing brushes that are for your eye shape or small enough or big enough to do what you want. I'm going to be using very average, basic size brushes just to kind of cover the masses, but these are the brushes that work for my eye shape as well as many of my clients, okay? So we're going to start with that powder we talked about. I am using a brush. This is from Sephora. This is an old brush. This is a blending brush. You do not have to use a specific brush for this first step. You can actually use one of my favorite brushes for Makeup Forever. This is the Wavy 144 brush. I'm going to put it into the powder, and I want to show you where my hand is. So bear with me, you guys. This can be a little bit complicated, but bear with me. When I want a light application, you do not want to be choking up on the brush like this, okay? You want to be back here on the handle. I'm going to go right in the middle. Now, if you notice, my whole hand, sorry, I have eyelash glue on here from doing, I do extensions, lash extensions sometimes for some clients. But I do not go up here. I go right in the middle. And if you notice, my hand is literally, it's barely holding on to this brush. I am not like gripping this brush, because then when you grip the brush and you try to apply whatever you're applying, it's too stiff of an application. You need to make sure that you are using it with just these two fingers right here and your thumb. Honestly, I always have my pinky up. It's just something I've always done. And you want to use light motions. This is what I do to set the concealer or primer. This is what I do, okay? So my application and my pressure is extremely light. Again, by using just this kind of soft touch on the brush is going to be really important, okay? Now I'm going to take just a white shadow, or one that is going to be blending on top of that powder, just to add a little bit of light underneath the brow. And again, my hand is in the middle of the brush and my pressure is super, super light, okay? Again, over and over that brow. Okay, so now you're going to put away that brush. I am going to be using my new favorite palette from Charlotte Tilbury. This is the Dolce Vita palette, and we're going to be kind of working our way around the palette. So what I always, usually not always, but I like to start with is a transition shade, and I'm going to take that Sephora brush that I was just telling you about, and when I want to deposit just a little bit of color, I use again in the middle of the brush, and I have a very light hand on it. I'm going to be going into this little burgundy shade right here. Okay. Do not load your brush up with a ton of product. All right, just tap it a few times. Her actually shadows are fantastic for no fallout. You can use a really fluffy brush and they just stay really nice and packed. Tap off excess always. And then when you're going to go into your crease, look at where my hand is. I am not going this way. I am not going up from here. I am going straight into my crease and I'm going back and forth. How you choose a brush for this area is one, when you put it in like this and it does not expand up into the brow bone and does not expand down into the lid. Also, you want to make sure that you are using the tip of the brush. When you use the tip of the brush, it is a softer application. The product is distributed a little bit more evenly and you have more control. Use these windshield wiper motions back and forth whenever you want to blend out. Again, my hand is just like this. This is just now down just so you guys can see it. But this is a back and forth windshield wiper motion, all right? Just like that. And you can do this as many times as you want. You can do this as few as times as you want, but it's all about where your blending ability is. But again, it's in the middle of the brush. It's just the two fingers and the thumb, and I am using the tip of the brush. Most brushes, for the most part, are meant to be used on the tip. So this brush right here is created in a tapered fashion because it wants to be used on the tip. This brush is rounded at the tip because, again, it wants to be used as a detailing brush. It wants to be used at the tip. Same goes for this. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I see a lot of people press down on their brushes. Do you guys do this where you're just killing your brush and you're killing your eye? That is not what they're for. You probably should have a new brush, to be honest with you. Probably that brush that you are using is not the right thing for you. I do love, I talk a lot about brushes that are a little bit more detailed, like this. Again, I think this one's sold out, but I'll try to find it. It's a Morphe brush. But what I do is I'm going to go again. I want to blend the top part of this out a little bit. I'm going to go in the middle of the brush, back one time into that color, just one little tap, excess. Now I'm going to lift my chin up and I'm just going to go, and my brush is on its side. It's not flat. You can if you want to, but I'm using on the side, and I'm just gently going to blend this out. This is really the difference between makeup artists, makeup enthusiasts that are really good at their makeup, is brush technique and brush pressure. If you can see, if I can get in really close here, I am not pushing, I am using the tip. I guess I can't say that enough. This is so important to just use the tip. And by holding your hand this way, that is how you're going to get less pressure. Again, I've turned my brush sideways and I am using very light pressure, and I am going in back and forth motions, and I'm in the middle to the end of my brush. That's where I'm holding it, okay? Now, let's say, for example, let me just finish this up. Okay, so let's say, for example, you have too harsh of a line out here, okay? You're going to take a brush with nothing on it. I'm just going to wipe it off. And I'm going to, again, hold now back towards the bottom of the brush or the tip of the brush, light-handed motion, and start to go back and forth. All right, I have concealer on and everything right now, but I would really recommend you doing this without any foundation or concealer on, so you're able to clean this up if you need to, because when you're working on brush strokes, you can get down really far and then that changes your eye shape, and that goes into our whole other video we did. But again, I'm at the very end, the very tail of the brush, and that is super, super important. All right, so now that that first step is done, it's also really about the that's why I think that everybody needs like an essential 5 eye brushes. I did a whole video on it when I introduced you to my brush rolls. If you guys have not seen that, I'm going to do a shameless plug on my beautiful brush rolls. Go to hardwarebeauty.com to pick up your 100% US made vegan brush rolls. But that's the video I talked about my essential brushes that I would get if I were you for your face. But it's really about picking up the right brushes. So you can't really try to do a whole eye look with 1 or 2 brushes. I mean, I guess you could, but if we're really talking about blending and how a brush needs to be used and how to get the best effect, you need a couple different brushes. All right, so we have everything going now. We have this all taken care of. It looks blended, so let's build this up. So now you're like to yourself, okay, well, I want to use a deeper shade like this guy right here, and I want to build up the corners of my eyes because I want it to be a little bit more dramatic. So what I would do is I would take a small detailing brush. This is the Makeup Forever Wavy 218 brush. You could also use, I don't know, this is my favorite brush to use for this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it into it again. Again, choosing the brush that is best for that area of your eye. Here we are. I'm going to kind of give this a little, and do you notice that my finger is resting? So whenever I'm doing detailing work, my finger rests on my face for support and stability. I choke up on the brush a little bit, so my finger is at where the metal meets the wood, and I am going to do tapping motions, and again, they're very light tapping motions, and then I will blend in a little bit. This small of a brush is not for blending. This brush is for minute movements and small blending motions. We will go in with another brush to blend this out. Okay, so we're gonna, again, choke up on the brush, tap, 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 blend just a little bit, make sure your color is deposited where you want it. Take your fluffier brush, your blending brush with nothing on it, and do little circular motions. And again, do you notice how close I am up to the metal section of the brush? And this is because I want more control. All right, I hope this is making sense. So you have more control when you're closer up to the brush. You have less control when you are at the end of the brush or the tip of the brush in the back. But if you want to deposit the most color, you're going to choke up on the brush. If you want really light and diffuse strokes, you're going to be in the middle to the end of the brush, okay? And again, my pressure never changes. I am never smushing this brush against my eye. All right, so if you want to now do like this shimmery shade right here, honestly, I would just use your finger. But if you really wanted to use a brush, use a small detailing brush. This is a Morphe E35. You can spray it with a little bit of setting spray, but you're going to go into here and you're going to tap motions. So anytime you have like a sparkly color, you don't really want to use a large brush, but just use your finger and tap this bad boy on. Most of these colors that are like super popular really should be put on with your finger. All right, so now you're going to go into the last kind of step is I'm going to take this kind of light shade right here, and I'm just going to pop it right in the corner here on my eye. Again, notice I am up tight on the brush, and I am using these patting motions and small stroking motions back. Again, patting, and my pressure, you guys, I cannot like, push this enough. My pressure is extremely light. Do not push very hard on your eye. And if you really wanted to, you could take this color again on a small detailing brush, and then you just want to place this under that brow. Again, picking, and I'm really close up on the brush now because I want a lot of control. I want to make sure it doesn't go everywhere. Remember, choke up on the brush if you want more control, but you are going to have more pigment payoff when you do that. So just make sure you know those couple things. Pretty, right? Okay, so now let's talk about under the eyes. So what you want to do is I'm going to take the sparkly kind of gold color again, and I'm going to use my little mirror here. And to go under the eyes, I actually use both sides of the brush. Again, I'm going to come in real close on my brush, and I'm going to just gently use the tip of the brush. And I'm also going to lay it flat. So I'm going to use the tip to first lay down, and then I'm going to use the whole brush to smoke out. Again, flipping it over and smoking this out. Okay. You can do the exact same thing with a pencil brush. Take my little pencil brush, and now I'm going to use just the tip, and I'm going to go back and forth. All right, so eyes are done. So let's talk about blush. Blush and contour, you really need brushes, in my opinion, that again, fit your face. One of my all-time favorite contour and blush brushes is this NARS brush. I forget the name of it exactly. I'll put it below. I think it's like Aria or something like that. But I love this brush, and I love it for most people's faces because it is tapered. Can you see that it goes like this? Whoop. So when I'm doing contour, I'm just using the tip of the brush, and my hand is very close in to the base of the brush or the bristles, okay? So that's how I do contour. I'm just going in with bronze and glue. I'm using the tip of the brush, my hand is close to the bristles, and I'm just using a very light hand. Again, I see people smushing this on their face. I urge you, if you best you possibly can, to not do that. You're actually destroying what the brush is meant to be used for. All right, so now let's talk about blush. Where did I bring my blush? Okay, so now I'm going to be going in with blush. So again, swirl, and then I am going to be using, again, hand is close to the bristles, the lightest pressure I have ever used. My hand is open, my hand is soft, my hand is gentle, and I'm working in circular motions. I also go like this. I am using, honestly, if you guys can see if I can show this to you. Okay, look, I am using the tip of the brush, not even like this, it's the tip of the brush, okay? So in my opinion, most blush brushes, or, you know, should have a little tip to them. Now, if you really want pigment payoff, you can push a little bit harder, but I just recommend going in with more product rather than smashing your brush into your face. And again, it's like you're painting. If you guys are painters out there, it's that kind of pressure. Now, if you're using a brush like this big and you have your blush, if you go like this up to the bristles, you're gonna be just a mess. So never go past this metal part on any brush, okay? If I was using this brush for blush, it's too big, but if I was, my hand would be really far back on the brush, and I'd be using really light-handed strokes. You are never gonna go past this metal section. I don't ever wanna like have you guys touching up here. There's no reason for it. To do, you know, your eye makeup like this is just really crippling, all right? So I hope that that helps you guys. Now, if you stay to the end, thank you very, very much. I really appreciate it. My dirty beauty blender, because I just pulled it out of my my bag because I was remembering to share it with you guys. Some 2 tips that I love to share with you guys. I use my beauty blender sometimes dry. I don't know if you guys do or not, but you know my favorite time to use a dry beauty blender is to use it on a skin-like foundation. Not the Makeup Forever Water Blend, because truly you need to use your hands. But for example, the Benefit, the brand new Hello Flawless Benefit Foundation, I actually use on a dry beauty blender. Now, when you're using it on a dry beauty blender, I don't recommend you tap. There is no, it's not, in my opinion, you shouldn't be bouncing this on the face with it dry. Use it in motions you would normally use a sponge for. So literally I'll take my foundation, put my foundation on my beauty blender, and I will spread it like this all over my face. And then maybe if it's on my nose, I'll give a little tap just to make sure it gives a little more coverage. But I really find that it helps make the finish of that foundation flawless. This is a beautiful technique for a tinted moisturizer as well, or a tinted SPF. You don't always have to use a beauty blender in bouncing motions or it, you know, moist. I hate that word. But you can use it dry and in pulling motions or swiping motions. So I hope you guys try those techniques as well. Thank you guys so much for being here. Please comment below. Let me know kind of the tips that really resonated with you, and I will see you guys in the next one. Lots of love from me to you. Bye, you guys.